Morning. This is the president of the Small Ruminants Association. We are here today in Airport. I've never been here before, and we come to visit Mr. Santiago Dunn's farm. We are here with his family. This is his father, Mr.
Dunn.
Mr. Dunn.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Same name as the vice president of the association.
Absolutely.
I don't know if there is any resemblance to Mr. Dunn's father.
Yeah.
And Santiago Dunn and his mother and some of his brothers are here. One of the first things that we were looking at this morning is his dog. He's a lover of pit bull, and his brother and so forth. And I was just having a discussion about him with the pit bull animals. They use these dogs here. They have a few of them. We look at the rest of them to guard these animals and to guard themselves and so forth. And you can give me a quick statement. You are Sheldon, right? Sheldon, you were saying about the pit bull and how you use them here on the farm.
Right, so basically what we do is we have 2 trained pit bulls for guarding, right? I have this girl here who is not trained to prove people wrong. The concept of pit bulls is a bit misconstrued. So we use these dogs first and foremost to show that they are not completely bloodthirsty.
So you actually use them so that they can go around the goats?
The goats, right.
Right, but you don't walk with them in the field, or you carry them with you also?
Sometimes.
You carry them in there. Because one of the things that happens is that most of the ambush that is happening in the fields, the thieves follow the farmers, and when they are in the bush, they just ambush them and take the goats. But when you walk, it is so important that whenever you're going out into the pasture land and going out and feeding outside, that you should have 2 or 3 dogs with you as your security, because they will alert you to dangers of dog predation if any dogs are there, and if a thief or anybody is coming towards you to ambush you. These pit bull will really do a good job of it. I'm not a lover of pit bull, but you know, this is a pit bull family who really like the pit bull. So we take a look at the other pit bulls that he has here in his farm and see. No, it's alright. Just show me the pit. No. That's fine. So this is a pit bull also?
Yes, this is an old school pit bull.
Okay, so this is called an old school pit bull.
Yeah.
And which is the other now? So which one you go in the field with? This one?
Both of them.
Both of them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they go in the field with this pit bull. And there's this guy around. And this one is what?
Escanor.
Escanor.
Yes, so we call it.
Escanor.
No, this one I'm not really in a deep attack.
Okay.
Action.
This is an action person. So if you're in the field with this man here and a man rushing at the field, it's all over.
Danger zone, man.
Danger zone. And no other dog can come and trouble your goat then.
No.
Right. So you see, you know, these animals are so important for predator lasting, and if you have these animals, you don't have to worry about the thief.
Yeah.
So one of the things, this is the African star grass, right?
Yes.
Look like African star grass. So one of the things I've been getting a lot of phone calls about is pasture management, which is one of the things we're going to look at with Mr. Dunn. When you graze this grass, you should not graze the grass go down to the ground. You should leave it at least 6 inches tall off the ground.
6 to 10.
6 to 10 inches off the ground. The reason for that is that the grass needs time to grow back, and you also keep the sun from the ground so that the water, the moisture stays in the soil. Another thing too is parasites. Parasites.
When it comes to the parasite, what we normally do, we ensure like how the place is sunny right now, this is the perfect time to bring out the animals. So when it's a little bit too moist for the parasite, that's what the parasite love, you understand? So
they love the wetness of the soil. When the rain fall and the dew rain and all of that, they like the moisture.
So we like when the blade of the grass is at least 10 inches tall. So when the sun is out, the parasite tend to go back down in the ground.
So when you have the dew rain on the grass, the parasite walk on the grass and come right to the top of the grass.
Yeah, which is why if you notice, during the rainy season, you realize that you have more of a wormwood in a herd, especially if you do grazing, you realize
so the worm burden becomes very, very heavy
yeah.
during the wet times. And this is because you're not practicing proper pasture management of what you're doing.
Yeah.
So when you're going to let out your goats in a wet environment, you wait until the sun come out,
Yes,
the
definitely.
grass is dry, the worm now crawls down on the grass, and they go down back to the earth.
Yeah.
So when the animals come to eat the grass, those parasites is not there. They are eating uncontaminated forages.
Yeah, not saying that you won't have some amount of parasite problem, but it drastically reduces it.
Yes.
You understand? So,
Drastically reduce it. So I've been getting a lot of calls about this pasture management. So he is predominantly a pasture management person who feeds his animal mainly on pasture. And his animals do very well on this because he understands how to do rotational grazing. So that's the word they use, rotational grazing. You don't graze an animal in one area for long. Usually the best thing to do, you graze on one area of your pasture for one day, then you move them to another area if you can afford to do that.
Yeah.
And you rest each area so that you can get regrowth.
Yeah.
And another thing too I have to point out is that when the goats walk in the pasture, their hoof press into the soil and replant the grass also. It's also part of nature. And their hoof replant the grass, and the manure drops in between the grass and replenishes nutrition into the soil. So it's a holistic approach. So they fertilize the plants, they replant the grass, and then you get, after a month or two, usually grass takes 6 weeks.
yeah,
And you can graze on that grass again after 6 weeks.
yeah, definitely.
Especially if you have the rainfall and so forth. So by nature, the animals put back nutrition, and then we always have the sun to give us the growth. So come on, let's take a look at
And before we go any further, to add to that, what I do with my herd to combat some of, because not all animals have the hardiness to really go out and take on the grazing system the proper way. So what I do with my females, because I only bring out my females, so what I do, the females that I realize have to be deworming too often because of the grazing system, I either sell them to butcher.
cull. The word is cull.
Yeah, cull them. So I sell them to butcher or sell them to someone who does zero grazing.
Right.
So I don't. Once I realize there's a line of females. So for instance, I have a mother goat here. She's not doing well in the grazing system. I realize her kids aren't doing well either. I get rid of that entire family.
Yes.
You understand?
That's one of the things. Culling is so important because once you have animals that become worm burden and they keep worming, and you have to keep worming them over and over, cull them.
Yeah.
Sometimes more than half of your herd sometimes need to be culled. And you have to just keep culling and keep the best. The animals that have become resistant to parasites and resistant to your environment. And one of the things is, that is the key. You have to do heavy culling.
Animals can perform under your system.
That's
Whatever
correct.
system you're using, whether it's grazing or cut and carry, just ensure that the animals are performing under the system that you're using.
That's correct. They have to be able to perform. So that is why
If they're not performing, they're not making any money.
right. So that's why culling is so important in your operation. You have to look at it, and not just from a parasite perspective. If you see an animal that maybe the foot is not so good, the croup, the overbite, as we have been talking about in recent times, we have to cull the animals.
Those things are very important.
Very important.
In the grazing system.
In the grazing system. So grazing system requires a lot of management to really be successful at it. Another thing to always tell people that goat don't really love grass so much, they prefer bush.
Yeah, definitely.
The sheep love grass. Sheep will eat this grass right down to the dirt. But goats tend to look for the legumes and the trees and the other plants to eat first. And that is their first choice. Because goats select the best forage that exists for consumption. So now we are entering Mr. Dunn's herd of animals, and as you can see, he builds his pen and his operation almost look like a hotel. You know, look at the staircase and the pens and the facility. Very nice, well done slatted floors. And if you look at these animals, these are some native and native cross.
Yes.
They are, you can see even for intensive. Usually you see animals looking this good in an intensive operation, but if you look at these animals, this is a grazing, predominantly a grazing operation, and you can see the animals are shiny, they are well filled out, you're not seeing the ribs of the animals.
The beauty about it, these animals, the last time I dewormed them was this time last year.
So he dewormed these animals 1 year ago approximately. No, that's something else that is very phenomenal, because one of the things that we are learning is that our goal and our aim is to deworm none at all. Exactly. Ideally, that's the ultimate game plan is not to be doing this worming. And a lot of farms are talking about drugs. I don't know if you see it all the time on the everything is about drugs. I will tell you the truth. I don't even have this drug kit that I hear people talk about. I hear them now talking about drug kit and you must have all these drugs in your kit and have all these kind of things. I don't even have a drug kit because what mainly in a grazing operation, I think cuts, you have cut problems, you get a cut every now and again. Every now and again. Not too often. No. What about hoof? Do you have hoof problem? Because some animals suffer from the wetness and the hoof problem.
Well, the thing is, the beauty about where I carry them to graze, they kind of have and the ground is kind of rocky.
Right.
So when it's rocky like that, you don't really have any problem with the hoof.
Right. So you don't get foot rot.
Yeah, I won't have any foot rot. And I find that it takes me quite a compared to the guys that I have under the cut and carry system.
Right.
Feeding that I carry out, I don't have to trim their wood.
Okay.
So what happened now? The rockiness of the terrain kind of
it shave off the wolf. Yeah. So now we're going to take
not saying that
you don't have to cut sometime.
Yes, definitely.
Right. So we're going to have a look at a wolf now, if possible. Let us take a look at one of the wolves, because we now start to talk about wolf, which is one of our main things that we're going to do today. Mr. Dunn is going to demonstrate the wolf cutting for us, and we're going to take a look inside his pen. Very nice facility. Look like you recently built this facility.
Next month it will be a year.
Okay, this is a 1-year-old facility. Yeah. He uses pallet on the outside.
The house is before.
Right.
In other words, we gain like experience and realize this is the best way to do it.
Right. So we're going to have a look at how before you do that now, before you go there now. Hold one of these. That.
Come here, boy.
So we're going to have a look at the wolf here now. One of the things is that one of the things with the animals is when you look at the wolf, there are some lines right here on the wolf. See these lines? You can see that Mr. Dunn take good care of this animal. Usually when you're shaving this, you follow these lines.
Yes.
So he's now, this excess growth, he's now going to cut off the excess growth. We're going to look now at another animal. This is another animal. You can see the excess growth. This has actually, if you look, sometimes it grows and curves over like this. Right? You can see the curve over. So what you do, you just skim it off. And the lines, you can see the lines right here. You follow those lines. So he's now going to demonstrate how he cuts the hoof of the animals.
Like this here, I'm going to try and flip it back a little. Now this animal right here, he's one of them that used to go out and graze with his mother. Everybody else in here
have been staying inside your pen.
Yes.
Right.
So his hoof, because of as I said,
the stone
because
breaks
of the terrain,
it naturally clean.
Yes, so it's not as
take care of it. Right.
So
he takes the knife.
So I'm just gonna trim these excess hoof right here. Relax, boy. Just gonna.
And how often you usually trim it?
Roughly every 2 months.
Okay, usually every 2 months. With grazing animals, maybe every 6 months.
Yes.
But another thing with the boar goat, you tend to have to cut these more often because they grow. The boar goat tend to grow these nails a lot faster, especially when you give them a lot of bag food. The growth and the nails are very intense with the boar goats. But animals that go out for grazing, sometimes you might not even have to cut them. But
no.
I would say maybe every 6 months you check on them and cut them.
Yeah, and be careful not to go too deep.
If you go too deep with that cutting, then you'll see blood.
Yeah.
Right. And you keep it level. That's one of the things.
Yes.
You try to keep it level. You don't want to cut too much because you need the foot to be level when you finish. So that when the animal walks, the foot will stand level on the ground. That is the intention, to keep the feet level on the ground when you do this cutting. So Mr. Dunn just demonstrate to you how this is done.
Calm down, boy. Calm down.
Yes, very easy. Very easy. This is part of the grooming process of the animals. It's very, very important. So another one, like that female over there.
This is a buck.
Oh, buck. Let's look at one of that. Let's look at the rear foot, the back foot. Let him stay there and we just look at the back legs.
What you want? What, the hoof or just?
The hoof, man. This hoof again. We're going to look at this one, the hoof. If you notice the boar, it has this white color hoof. So their feet tend to be not as tough as the black color.
Yeah.
But what happens with the boar? This overgrowth will happen till it almost grows out and make the animal can't walk properly.
And the thing is, the way it grows, it kind of grows.
Right.
This overgrown.
The gristle like almost like chicken gristle.
Yes.
But this grows out tall like this, and then what happens? The hoof get twisted and you know. So what you look at it this year now? If you look, you see how level this is. He has recently cut this. It can get a little chip in here, but this is fine. His hoof is now level like this. So when he puts his feet on the ground, he stands level. Look at how level, you see? His foot is level on the ground. And that's what you want. You want the feet to be level on the ground. If you notice when these goats are eating, they are selecting the bushes, the legumes. They are not really eating the grass as such. You can notice them that they are mainly eating the bush. They push their head down and take out the legumes and the high protein, very good energy, very good protein and nutritional things. Yeah. We are also under this plum tree, and I know they're probably looking for some of the plum. Yes. Mr. Dunn?
Yes, right here.
Yes.
Eat up some.
Yes, they like to take out the plum. They like the sweet taste of the plum. Yeah. That's one of the things in Kingston. I feed my animals on mango skin and fruits in general, you know. Yeah. Pineapple. Yeah. Even the prickle part of the pineapple. Yeah. They eat that. So we feed them on a lot of those kind of waste products. And they love it. They call it agro. And if you look into this grass, you can see that this is not just grass alone. It has a lot of plant material in the grass, which they tend to pick out and take out, you know. And this is what goats really love. While when a sheep is eating, they just eat the grass. They just graze everything down, you know. And usually the plants that you see sticking out, and you know, like maybe this plant, usually this is the goat don't eat this probably. They eat it too. Time to time. They probably don't like it as much. Most of this operation there is no bag feeding or anything. He just feeds in his pasture. Yeah. Right. So he cuts and carry very little.
And some nutrients.
Right. And he also has the minerals. He always have the free choice mineral and fresh water.
Yeah, the water is key.
Water is key. Clean fresh water is always key. Look at the animals there. So some of them are out now and they are now grazing on some of the property out here. And you can see them. They are going to now climb up on the hill. So I can tell you.
I only graze them for like 4 hours, no more than 4 hours.
Each day?
Each day.
So these animals are grazed for only 4 hours each day, and then they are totally filled. Yeah. So you only full them once a day?
Yeah, from a period of 12 to 4.
So he grazes his animals, which is also very important. He grazes the animals from 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock. So the reason for this is because he wants dry grass with no water, no mildew, no rainfall. So what happens with the rainfall?
Well, if the rainfall, no, that's the only time we
Take a chance.
And bring them.
Right. And usually if the rainfall, I think the
I
worm.
don't put enough grass to
Right.
give everybody.
So you have some grass stored up. You do.
Cut some grass.
Right. So he also has some storage. He stores some amount of grass. So when he has a lot of rainfall, he can also continue to feed them. And he can also give them some back feed from time to time. This is the type of operation that will make a lot of money because he doesn't have to spend a lot of money and buy feeding. And one of the things is that there are some operations that people are buying bag feed and buying hay and buying all the feeding to feed the animals, and you just have pen and buying feeding. That's not a sustainable way of rearing animals.
Especially for this farmer.
Yes, it's not sustainable for the farmer to do that. Even if you're doing purebred or graded or, native, it's not sustainable to do something like that. You need to have, you have to be producing some forages.
Yeah.
Let the land produce the forage and feed the animals. So you said you were up to what, 150 breeding females at one point?
Yeah.
So you actually cull them and you know about how much breeding females there are?
Around
About 50?
50.
Right, so what he did, he actually culled, he realized what was happening in his program. He had some animals that were parasite, parasite laden, they were parasite laden, right. In other words, he had to be medicating them and, worming them all the time. And, this is not good. So what he did, he started to cull. So he basically culled from 150, sold those animals to butchers or sold them to farmers who are doing intensive farming. Because intensive farming tend to handle worm burden a lot better. So he culled these animals and he culled them until he's now at about 50 breeding females. And he's now going to use this, what he has, which is, prime stock. And he's going to now breed up to 150 or 200 females. And one of the things I always said is that when you're buying animals, you have to buy animals from a known breeder, a trusted breeder, and a breeder that has good stock, good animals, and also a breeder who don't believe in drugs, who try to deal with the animals the natural way. So the natural way is culling. Certain plants that you eat, the wild tamarind, the breadnut, the quickstick, and I don't know if you know any other plants. These plants are natural. Fig tree. Yeah, these plants are natural wormers because I think the tannin in it. The worms and the parasite don't like it, so it naturally, worm them. That is why he can boast and tell you that he hasn't wormed these animals for over 1 year because they are naturally worming themselves out in the environment. So
wouldn't necessarily call it boasting, but
not boasting. All right. This is why he's telling us that he has reached to the point where he has culled it so much that he does not have to worm as often, and he has very strong and hardy animals. So culling is very important in your operation. All right. Your father used to raise goat, your grandfather?
Yeah, my grandfather on my mother's side used to raise goat. My grandfather on my father's side raised cow. Yeah, so I guess that's where the passion for animals really come from. Yeah.
And this is what you do?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Mr. Dunn, you know what some people ask me from time to time, if people can make living out of goat rearing. I've heard that from time to time. What is your opinion on that?
Yeah, I definitely can.
Okay, so you make your living off of goat rearing?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think is the ideal number to sustain yourself? Support a vehicle and what the numbers of goat you think?
The number for me.
What you think,
It's anywhere from 100 to 150 females.
Okay, that's
females.
breeding females.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the idea.
So that can push it to be at about maybe even 300 goats, but breeding females he wants to see 150. My chest a little high. I think it need to be at about 400.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, 400 I think.
Well, I just said that based on my...
Your standard of
Yeah.
living and what you want.
Yeah.
Sustain
And
yourself.
the amount of land
That you have access
is really
to.
important as well.
Right. So you have access to all that land up there?
Mm.
Right, okay. Like how much land you think up there, so? Like, I don't even know what is on top of that hill.
I think it's up to about 15 to 20 acres.
Okay, so he has about 15 to 20 acres of land that he can use on his feeding program, which is, is good.
Yeah.
This soil here tend to be a stony, rocky kind of soil, so it's not really great agricultural land, but it's good for animal, for livestock.
Yeah,
this is
especially
good.
goats, because
Especially-
goats love the
Rocky soil, right? Look,
Yeah.
yes, right. So it's ideal for goat rearing. All right, so Mr. Dunn, thank you very much for the invitation here.
Yes,
It was a good look. I really enjoy, your surroundings and the beautiful countryside. When we were driving, come up here, the place was green right around and everything, and it was a good. So thanks.
Yeah, man, no problem.
All right.